but everybody should be recognizing all of these movements and watch how Sensei gets himself off the line. Watch his posture.
Hello, Richard.
Morning.
Oh, hi, Darrel.
Hello, Coryl. Good morning.
Darrel, I couldn't find the 2009 footage at all. So this one is 2004 up in San Francisco.
Right, I remember.
We were doing this on Wednesday night in the dojo, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I just said there's nothing new for anybody here. All the movements, we work on them and work on them and work on them.
Good ones to work on.
Yeah.
This is really great footage, actually.
Oh, hi, Garrett.
Hi, Sensei.
Thank you for helping me get in here.
Oh, certainly.
That's where you disappeared to. Is this in slow motion, Garrett?
No, this is regular speed.
Really?
Yeah, since we have a number of videos to get through, maybe this is a good speed, actually.
Yeah.
Slow.
It's the frame rate. You know, I don't know. I'm going to guess it's probably 60 frames a second, and the internet won't take it any faster than that.
Uh-huh.
So it looks like it's slow-mo. Depends on the frame rate that it was recorded on, and how it's interpreted by Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom tends to have a lag in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's great at this speed, though. You really see.
This is the movement we were discussing on Wednesday night, Sensei. This is
Yeah.
going forward, though. Wonder if we'll see the number 6.
Right.
It'd be number 5.
Well, this is 5, right? I wonder if we'll see number 6.
So when Archie Sensei was here, he talked about all the foundation footwork that you do over and over and over again, and this is something you never stop doing in Aikido. You work with your wrists and how you hold, you grip the boken, how you get off the line, how you move your hips, your footwork, all of that stuff has to come together with a lifetime of practice, really.
Yeah, he's certainly showing the footwork that you demonstrated.
He's not completely bringing them together to where they touch and then stepping back like I've seen demonstrated before. But more of a natural movement, it seems like.
Let's move on a little bit, Garrett.
All right, let's go to number 3, I think.
Oh, well, I mean,
Oh,
we
in
go to
this-
the end of this one a little bit. I mean, just see if it goes to a different form that somebody asked about. No, I guess probably not. This was a class for Q ranks that he taught outside. Look at that extension. Mm. Aha, here we go. Oh, that's the very last one, huh?
Yep, number 8.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So he does bring his feet together.
Yeah, that's the last one. You
Yeah,
very
on
short.
number 8, he brings his feet together and loads up for the ski.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next one, Garrett. I think,
All right.
is he doing the whole thing here?
That was the end of this video, so I'll go to the next.
Okay. Right. Just part 3.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see.
Garrett, can you choose full screen?
This should be full screen here. You should be seeing it. Maybe it's on your end. Is anybody else having?
No,
Well,
mine is full screen.
Yeah, mine's not. Yeah.
Maybe your view. I don't know, Dick. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's big enough to see, but I'm looking at it on an iPad.
Right.
Just use your fingers to widen
Oh, yeah.
it.
When in doubt, ask Sensei.
Worked. I never
Just
thought
did
of it.
that, and it worked. He's frozen. Ah, there we go.
This must be on the last day. After the mats have been.
Yes.
The mats are gone.
Oh, right. So that's right.
Yeah.
This was the last class.
Yeah.
What do you think he would have been saying when he was bent over there and waiting there?
Extend your spine, let your arm go.
Mm.
Letting his upper body relax.
But
Then,
with the extension through the spine.
yeah.
Oh, this one.
Do you have any idea if these exercises he learned from?
No, he developed it.
He developed them? Okay.
He introduced them about early 2000s, maybe later, maybe earlier, maybe mid 90s, but more in the early 2000s.
Do you know the reason, like structurally or anything, of why you don't bend the knee to lower yourself down? Like why it's all at the waist with the legs straight?
For this exercise, he wants the knee straight so you really find the hip joint. So it's really easy if you bend the knee to lose the hinge at the hip joint. And he's really wanting people to find the spinal connection to the pelvis and the hip joint. And so you have to work. Also, you have to be able to extend. You have to lengthen your hamstrings to do this. But a lot of it is finding the hip joints, because when he actually applies it with the Kiryu-toshi, he bends the knee. But for this exercise, he really wanted you to keep the knee straight, because you have to find the hip joint hinge and find out how to stabilize your tendon and keep your spine long in order to make that motion. It's a lot of it's conditioning.
I see.
So here he's still keeping his legs straight, but he'll, when he actually goes to do the Kiryu-toshi, see, he'll bend his knee. He also doesn't go all the way down like that.
Yeah.
At all.
It's very hard to keep your legs straight.
It is.
How he goes straight down for the wrist.
Yeah.
Has anybody spoken to Manolo recently?
Not directly, no.
I hope he's well.
He's spending a lot of time working in Hong Kong, I think. But he still trains some at Hombu Dojo, but he has some classes he's teaching in other places, I think. He's still active.
Interesting. This is Robert, isn't it?
Yes.
He had to adjust the distance of his ma'ai because it was too wide, because he wasn't able to get down correctly. It really makes you find the correct distance of your footwork.
They're actually too close.
They are.
He did a better job of getting back that time.
Yeah. Yeah, his shoulders do not move. They're so relaxed, and his spine is so straight, so vertical.
And Manolo is so young.
And so thin.
Yeah. It happened when he went to Japan.
Mm.
Is he kind of demonstrating keeping your hands loose, your wrists loose there?
He's just cutting through, just that feeling of letting gravity take the weapon.
Okay.
So you don't actually finish that way. Yeah.
What summer camp did you say this was from?
2004.
Yeah, 2004 in San Francisco.
What's that doing here? Oh. See how he absorbs the attack, though? It's part of the coming down. Now he's stopping it, but
This is interesting. He's really maintaining that stability of the both legs, keeping the knees relatively straight, and just almost like standing in Tadasana or mountain pose, and then moving from there. Now we go still. Yeah, look at that spinal extension. Huh?
mm-hmm.
Bloom Sensei, I have a question for you regarding the footwork.
Sure.
Did he specifically, so I'm noticing there's a lot of hyperextension in that forward foot in the ankle. I really try to stay away from that and let the ball of my foot pivot. Is that something that he taught specifically, or was it just something that came out of the timing, or was it
that
discussed?
That position is called Urasankaku, rear triangle position. It's his basic Hanmi position, with the front foot strongly turned out, but the knee with the foot. And actually, he's not hyperextending through the ankle. But it's a position that opens the hip a great deal, but it's one that's, if you don't have it, it's a difficult one to just copy. So you have to protect yourself. You have to, you know, turn out what's appropriate for your body. Sensei's body was pretty extraordinary. Now he's letting that knee bend. But
Yeah, but the foot,
yeah.
sorry, his front foot does not, it was exactly the position of the back foot before he stepped forward.
Exactly.
No, wait a minute, the back foot, yeah.
So he just, when he steps back, he doesn't change the position of that foot.
No, he doesn't adjust it at all.
Because it's the most efficient way to do it in some ways. Which, you know, Sensei's thing was if you could eliminate anything unnecessary, eliminate it. He tried to keep things as simple and efficient as possible.
I have a question. You guys, can you hear me?
No. Yes.
Explain what's happening with Sensei's breathing when he's moving and accepting strikes and then making his strike. I guess that's a good way to put it. It's because you mentioned Tadasana.
I just came out of a yoga class, so it's on my brain. Go ahead.
It's okay. I live in a yoga class. Yeah. I don't know if you know, but Rita spent time in Pune with Iyengar. So
did Sensei.
Yes, I'm aware of this. It's a great connection. So I know that when we were practicing these exercises with the extension, we're tying it into breath really heavily, and I'm just really wondering, you know, what's he doing with his breathing right now? That I'm sure it's different than the average human. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's hard to know for sure. My assumption would be that when he raises the sword and takes it back into Wakikamai, he's inhaling, and he very well might be holding his breath as he moves forward, and then he releases I know he releases his breath as he cuts down. Whether he's actually holding the breath in his tanden as he's moving forward or not, I can't tell you for sure. Often he would teach it that way as an exercise. But in the context of, you know, he was just totally natural. So I don't know. He was doing whatever felt most natural for him in that situation.
Thank you, Sensei.
San Francisco State or the Gators?
Still trying to figure out what the AK stands for.
AK.
Cal State.
Oh, so this is not San Francisco. It's San Francisco, yeah, California State University, San Francisco.
Right.
I guess.
Well, I see it on a sign on the back wall there.
Yeah, I see that state. I guess we're supposed to be watching Manolo and Robert, though.
Yeah, we could move on. There is more to see. How are we doing for time? We've got half an hour more. We didn't see part 2, though, did we, Garrett?
We have not seen that yet. Maybe we'll get to
part 2 of disc 3, because right now we're on part 3 of disc 3, the very end.
Correct.
letting it go.
One of the things that he emphasized for later was the attacker on this, the attack should be forward, not pulling in the way Manolo is, but actually cutting forward to cut to the head. He was from 2008 through 2012, he was really pushing the idea. At one point he said, there's any good defense requires good offense. And so the offensive attack, see, he's doing it there, how he's cutting, he's going forward when he cuts rather than pulling. And the whole encounter works way better when Uchitachi is attacking the way Sensei just did, which is to cut forward or positively rather than pulling. So for all, well, the two, Jodan Kiritoshi especially, and Gedan Kiritoshi, Chudan Kiritoshi, you're trying to cut to the wrist, and it's similar as well, but it's a different feeling. Let it all go. That's the Ukitachi side he's talking.
I think that is the end, so let's go to the next.
He had such a wonderfully expressive face.
He's also has a huge Subarito.
Yeah.
Is there no sound with this?
It doesn't carry over through Zoom.
That's a shame, actually, but it's not always easy to understand what Chiba Sensei is saying.
I think the only way to get the audio, Garrett, is if you play it yourself out loud, and it has to be pretty loud, and then it'll play through your microphone along with you speaking.
Right, yep. Thanks, Ethan.
The likelihood is that the camera was too far away to pick up the voice anyway, unless he had a mic on or something close by to pick it up, like a remote mic.
He refused to wear them.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times we tried to encourage that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his Subarito gets bigger at the end.
Yeah.
Instead of finer.
I have one like that.
Yeah.
For future efforts, you know, for audio, they make really remote, really small, compact shotgun mics that are highly directional. So you can have somebody who's doing the video that might also have somebody else doing the audio with a microphone that they're pointing at the speaker, and it will pick it up quite well.
I'm a little finger.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
There we go.
RC, I think you're there, aren't you? I don't see you on the screen though. Did anybody see RC?
Yeah, he's here.
Oh.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
I just had it on mute while I was concentrating.
I think I just had a haircut. See, there, his front foot is not extreme.
No, it's interesting.
See how his hip comes forward with the motion of the strike. It's not, the strike pulls his hip.
No, his hip drives the strike.
Yeah.
That's how you hit home runs. Sadahara or Babe Ruth, take your pick.
Oh, as a student of Koichi Tohei's.
I read the book. Great book.
Yeah. You know what Chiba Sensei's nickname was?
No.
BB.
BB.
It stood for little brother, because he and Koichi Tohei were so close when he was training at Humbo Dojo in the early days that they were called big brother, little brother.
Oh, wow.
Sensei worked with the Japanese wrestling team for the Olympics in whatever that would have been in the 70 something, like 72, I think.
I never knew that. That's interesting.
Yeah, he had all kinds of stuff he did.
Yeah.
As a very, very young man. So he would have been 22.
Wow.
Yeah. He only spent 7 years with the founder, from 18 to 25.
It's amazing what he did and how he developed, having had a broken back.
Yeah.
Having experienced that kind of an injury. I think that's why his focus was always so so strongly on the spine, the extension of the spine, the strengthening of the spine.
Yep.
What was that, his connection with the Iyengar?
He discovered Iyengar when he was in London, and he was looking for something to continue to. He did the Tempu Kai, the Japanese yoga, when he was in Japan. That was again Koichi Tohei and a number of the Tada Sensei. A number of them were connected to the Tempu Nakamura's Japanese yoga. So I think Sensei, when he discovered the Iyengar yoga in London, he found it really simpatico with a lot of his work with his body. His whole thing was you have to, everything starts with the body, and you can't separate the mind and the spirit from the body, because he was a monist, not a dualist. He on his way back from England to India is when he spent time in Pune with Iyengar. But there's definitely a huge emphasis on spinal stability and extension in Iyengar's approach to yoga that really resonated with Sensei's own thinking and working.
Very early on in San Diego Aikikai, he introduced us to yoga and had someone, a local person, come in and give us yoga classes. And she was Iyengar.
Do you know what BKS stands for?
No.
Beating, kicking, and screaming.
There's a beautiful documentary on his teaching that's available. I think if you can find it, that's one of the reasons Sensei was so drawn to him, because he would say, Iyengar, he's so martial. He's so martial. He will kick you into position, which Sensei separated both of his shoulders doing yoga with Iyengar. Because if there was, there was no shortage of willfulness on this man's part.
Now he switched to doing Keisa, but is there a boken kata that involves the horizontal cut? I mean, I feel like we do it for conditioning exercises, but is there a form that uses that? I know Iaido obviously does the horizontal cut a lot, but.
So if you look at the variations for Kimasubi no Tachi that Sensei developed, the second and third one, there's a point where the person's coming to cut up and through, which is almost a do cut. And there are when you raise up the cut to the rib, and oftentimes you would do that with just horizontal do cut to the ribs, and then coming down to parry, and then the person that parries tries to come up to cut, and then you flip the sword across, and then it's more gaku keisa. But so there are, that's about the only really sword kata or form. I'm trying to think if in the EI, then there's the EI kumitachi, there might be one in there, but yeah, it's not utilized nearly as much as shomen or keisa. Coryl mentioned Sensei broke his back when he was 21 or 22, I think.
Oh, I thought it was younger than that.
Maybe it was. It was
like 19 or 20.
Maybe it was around 20. But he ended up going to Iwama for 6 months after he was paralyzed for a number of months. And then he did a whole fasting thing with a naturopath, and they reduced the inflammation, and around he fractured the spine. He traumatized the spinal cord, but he didn't it wasn't like he severed the spinal cord, it was bruised. But then he went to to Iwama, and O-sensei according to Chiba Sensei, almost all he had him do was that keisa cut, up and down, up and down, up and down, and really worked his lower back. And when I was in Iwama and studied with Saito Sensei, Saito Sensei said in O Sensei's sword work, there's no keisa, it's all shomen, which was rather interesting because Chiba Sensei said all O Sensei did with him was keisa, practically, but just individually on his own.
Did you already mention how he injured his back?
He had his hakama tied the way you tie a hakama for Iaido, which is with the knot tied in the back or directly over the spine.
Okay.
And then he was practicing judo after class with one of his training partners, and Sensei was really exhausted. And at the time, and he was thrown really hard in a koshinage where he landed on his back and it drove the knot, and his body's reaction to it was to really hyperextend his spine, and he fractured the fourth lumbar vertebrae and pushed it way forward. When he first came to San Diego, I was working for a physician, and Sensei eventually went to see him. Chuck Moss was his name, and Chuck did x-rays to look at Sensei's back, and he came. I was doing body work in his office working for him, and he said, "How does this man walk? He shouldn't be able to walk. His spine, it's not possible." And I told that to Sensei. He says, "Yeah, they all do that." There was a chiropractic college in New York that wanted Sensei to live there so they could study him for a year to figure out how he could do what he did.
Oh, wow.
It was a very, very severe injury. And it really came back to haunt him the last few years of his life.
Oh, I can imagine. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Well, it haunted him. I mean, it always haunted him. It's true. When he first came to San Diego, there were times, there was a period when he used to walk to the dojo with a stick. He couldn't walk without a stick to get to class. I recall that.
Well, he came in March. He went to USAF summer camp in August, and he came back crippled because he had done too much. And also it was a change in weather, a change in climate, and anyway, he's back. And that's when his father-in-law came and spent almost 3 months with us, I think. Right. 2 months. Chiba Sensei, because Chiba Sensei, I would go and watch him get needle treatments by Dr. Nakamura, and he was on his back. He wasn't able to walk. The sciatica is what he would get that was really severe. And then he recovered and he was back at it. But you'd see him sometimes with the Iaido demonstrations, he'd use his sword as a cane to get himself to the mat. And once he bowed in, he'd do forms you'd have no idea there was a problem. And then once he'd bow on again, you'd have to use the cane to get back, or the sword as a cane to get back to where he was. He often said he would have been so much better if he hadn't had that injury. And most of us were always wondering how anyone would have survived training with him.
That's incredible toughness for sure.
But it also really, it shaped how he taught ukemi, how he understood the use of the body, like Coryl was saying. We benefited from his injury in so many different ways because it informed his way he had people condition their bodies, how he conditioned his own. He called it developing an Aikido body.
It's amazing how easily he's moving this Subarito.
Because it's all generated from his center and through his spine. And that's a huge Subarito.
Which means very heavy.
Yeah. Coryl, do you remember the Subarito that Glenn Weber carved? It sat in the corner at the not University Street, but the next dojo.
In University Avenue?
University Avenue, yeah, that dojo. It was about 5 foot 4x4 of oak.
Oh.
that Glenn just kind of carved down a little bit of a handle.
Oh, vaguely.
Well,
and Sensei used it, right?
Well, Glenn brought it in. It was on the 4th Avenue dojo, and some of us were just trying to pick it up with both hands and stop it to a cut. And Chiba Sensei came out of his office, picked it up with his right hand, lifted it up and cut and stopped it in front of him parallel to the ground, at which point I just walked away. His physical strength was also kind of unbelievable. Even though he said you only need enough strength to pick up a chopstick to be a good martial artist. Everything else is commitment. That's what he would say.
Commitment in the follow through in your technique, or commitment to
just commitment to the encounter.
Yeah.
Sensei had a pretty old school attitude about martial arts. He liked the Sioux quote, "It's a good day to die."
Uh-huh. Well, he certainly was able to take his students, if you were really a committed student, to that edge, actually. And I think that's what his remarkable ability was, that he could stop at that edge of right between life and death, and you knew that if he took it any further, or if you'd be gone, and it made you come alive.
Is there another one we want to?
Paradoxically.
Well, we could do, the first one in this 2-part one is body art, but that's really nice to see because it's all about EQ. You can see how he comes alive when he looks around. He has all these students around him. It's an excitement for him.
Beautiful posture.
Yeah.
He would tell you he broke his back, he couldn't bend it. But that was a real understatement because he had so much extension and liveliness and through his spine. But the spine's first responsibility is to stabilize, and that kind of stability through his spine is amazing.
Yeah, down in Swaruwaza, you can really see the link between the base of his spine and the base of his neck when he turns his back.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear. It's clear illustration.
Yeah.
This might be kind of a weird question, but do you think the fact that he had so many students really drove his exploration of his Aikido, or his desire to look further?
I don't know that it had anything to do with how many students he had. I just think that was who he was.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no sense of complacency, and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted, he didn't want us to ever become complacent either. The
right.
sense was, and he modeled that constant self-observation, self-reflection,
mm-hmm.
and continued to refine. He wasn't satisfied with what he was doing, you know, there was always the opportunity to make it better.
Yeah.
And to transmit it. That was the driving thing, how to transmit what he had. But in terms of what Brian was just saying, the one thing about, you know, he talked towards the end of his life a lot about the importance and it's awkward for me to say it because my knees are shot, so I can't sit and move like that. But it's the thing he felt was the greatest strength of our school was the quality of Swariwaza, the quality of just sitting. And sitting in Seiza provides so much more support for the spine than standing on two legs, that it's a tremendous way to cultivate a strong, stable, lively spine. So that, and then, you know, and you just see it so clearly, the movement from his hip joints here when he's sitting, how strongly settled he can be in his lower body and yet move his whole spine and upper body from that stable position.
You can really see the pyramid.
Yeah.
And this, it's just, yeah, the stability is amazing to look at.
Where's my wife?
I'd like to just go back a little bit to what we were saying before that about Sensei having a big school or a lot of students. Actually, he, relative to other Shihans of his generation, he actually had a relatively small school. Those students, though, were devoted to him and could accept the kind of intensity of his teaching, stayed, but it was never quite on the scale. He wouldn't just accept anyone. He would accept anyone, I think, really, to...
Not everyone would stay.
But not everybody would stay when they realized the level of commitment it required. And Sensei never held back from anybody.
No.
And it didn't matter who you were, he gave you 100% of himself.
So I think what it is, Birinkai on the whole is pretty large, but
that's for next week.
Yeah.
The direct students, there weren't that many of you.
No, and I can remember Sensei said at some point that the reason Birankai was small was because of him.
Well, I really appreciate that short demonstration he did of his judo skills.
But you know what? In 2007 at President's Weekend, he made a huge point about he never brought any of his judo into his Aikido. That when he did Aikido, he left all of his judo behind, and yet, you know, you see him do hit chokes, especially. He was extraordinarily proficient at choking. But yeah, that was a pretty nifty little jujitsu move, huh? And then you get to see talk about flexible, Mr. Gumby here, Coryl.
No, you don't resist. It doesn't pay to resist.
No, it was futile, but some of us did not have anywhere that kind of play in our shoulders.
Yeah. Oh. Ow.
Play is a good term for that because Sensei is clearly playing with him.
In fact, that looked like Daniel.
Try hitting him. There you go, Mike.
That's Mike.
Yeah, Mike Sidebottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Carl Baldini before.
I recognize Carl. Carl's a pretty solid guy.
Pretty solid, but incredibly flexible at the same time.
Mm.
Looks like Sensei's having a particularly good time.
Yeah.
Usually reserves that for children.
Yeah. You know,
Well, we did lots and lots of this in his dojo. He liked Kokinage.
Mm-hmm. And also learning to take a kemi from the ground.
Yeah.
Not flying away, connecting with the ground, taking the kemi.
Watch how low across his back he takes the kemi.
Yeah, he really developed his ukemi for his because of his back.
Yeah.
He rolled over it, didn't stretch it out. And yet he taught us a different ukemi. When the lessons we had in ukemi were much more diagonal across the back.
He still wanted you to take it low.
Oh, sure, touch the mat first, really.
But he wanted you to take it across the lower part of your back, where you have the more, again, the spine is much larger. I always try to do it the way he did it. But
you know, I had a few years of Ki Society, Ukemi, and Aikido before I came to Sensei, and I can remember to this day the time at which he made my body do the forward roll as he wanted it to be coming out of my center, because, you know, in the Ki Society, Ukemi, you always did these kind of rolls, these circular kind of movements, but it really somehow holding your center back, and I can feel how he held my body down, my arm, getting my hip to come up and pivoting me over, and it changed my ukemi from that point on. I felt the difference.
the thing he really didn't like is for people to lower themselves down in a squat and roll from there.
Yeah.
He said it's basically meaningless. You roll because your balance has been broken. So if you remember all the times we would train it falling in the eight primary directions,
Right.
Extending the spine, lifting the back leg and going forward, side to side, backwards, and then on the diagonals, which is the primary angles of Kazushi. So just being in a position where you could always absorb and fall in the direction of imbalancement like that. Miguel's doing a beautiful job.
Also, you always sort of emphasize that break falls should come out of a forward roll, really, and not sort of be taken in midair. Who was that? Whose little boy was that?
Pardon? I'm not sure.
Oh, he closed his eyes. Sensei loved children.
He was pretty tough on his own.
Yes, he was. Sadly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. One of my early teachers, his kid had to sneak off to another dojo to be able to be promoted. Master Park wouldn't promote his own son.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Kid's full grown now.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, 14 years.
Yeah.